Eric here with the Paperback Warrior podcast and blog. Today's video is a companion to episode number 109. Be sure to listen to that full episode as we talk about a niche in men's adventure fiction called Deer Hunter Horror. In that episode, I'll go through several books that feature deer hunters in peril. I've also got a review of a new book called East Indiaman, and then I've also got a story from Steve Frazee called The Death Hunter, which you'll want to listen to. But I've mentioned in that episode that I went on a shopping trip recently to a place called Cliff's Books, which is in Central Florida, and a little place called Deland. And I've been here once before, well, actually twice. I went a couple years ago, and it really didn't impress me that much. But then I went again last spring in 2023 and found that it had gotten more inventory and seemed like it had just a lot of interesting stuff. So I wanted to get back there again and just kind of do a deep dive and take some photos and videos of the store itself and all the crazy stuff that's inside. So when you walk into Cliff's, it's basically one big room on the left, and then straight ahead is just a narrow room filled with books. Here's just a couple photos I took of just books everywhere. As you can see on the left picture, these boxes are stacked up at the back of the store, and they're filled with, I'm assuming, books or comics or magazines that would be of interest to us. And as you can see on the right, this is on the in the big room on the left side on the floor is all these books just stacked up. And then at the top there, you can see just boxes and boxes and boxes stacked on top of each other. And these are all books that we would all enjoy here. I mean, sci-fi, action, adventure, mystery, suspense, you name it, it's in there. So right around the corner of the room on the left, we'll start here with the first things that I found were some Sherlock Holmes books. You can see these are in paperback. Really nice looking. Not bad prices, I guess. $5, $5, $3. It's not too bad. Here you see that they've got a stack of Edge books, and then just below that, they've got 3 of those Angel Western books. Actually, 5 of those Angel Western books. And then you see the Scorpion Squad #1. So good stuff there. Here's the second installment of Raker, and then also the second book called Killer Patrol. The first one was called Blood Patrol. It's just a 2-book series by Pinnacle. Tom reviewed Raker #1 and found it to be absolutely horrific, and I think it made our Hall of Shame. I reviewed Blood Patrol on the blog and really enjoyed it, and Killer Patrol is just as good. Here's a selection of Agatha Christie books, tons of those. Here you've got some Doctor Who books. They're in bags, in very good shape. I didn't get a chance to look at the prices on those, but I'm thinking they're probably about $5 to $10 each. Satan Was a Lesbian. Isn't that crazy? I think that's from 1960, if I'm not mistaken. I ended up buying this book for my dad. He's a huge Tarzan fan, watches a ton of those movies and TV shows and reads the books, and he's just a real Tarzan buff. This book is filled with photos, and it's all broken into chapters by whoever was playing Tarzan at the time. Looking at this, I wasn't sure what it really was. Opening it up and looking at it, it seemed like it was a compilation of pulpish stories from the adventure magazines and mystery magazines. It looks cool. Here's a huge selection of comic code books. They're just in that one frame. You see the Phantom Witch Doctor, Spook, Suspense, and Mystery, and Weird Fantastic Tales. Who knows this guy? Michael Knight. They got 3 copies of this Knight Rider book, Trust Doesn't Rust. I've never read any of the Knight Rider paperbacks. Can't say I've ever even seen one out in the wild, so that was kind of interesting. Just below that, you see Land of the Giants, and then The Sword in the Stone by T.H. White. Can't make out, there's a Carter Brown there, and that's all I can really make out on that frame, but cool stuff. I posted this on Facebook when I originally found it, this huge box of laser science fiction novels. He's got number 1 through 57 in order. He wanted $100 for the whole set, but I passed. I didn't really need them. Haven't really seen these out very much. These are paperbacks of reprints of the Conan the Barbarian comic book from Marvel, and they're just in paperback size. Kind of hard to read in that size, but they're really cool looking, and I didn't buy them, but I wanted to. They were $15 each. Here's your Ace double science fiction, all bagged. Poodle Springs, which was originally started, I guess, by Raymond Chandler and finished by Robert Parker. This is in hardback with a beautiful cover. And here's EC Tub, all bagged from Dahl. Beautiful. I think these were about $3 each. You can see some markings on some of them. And here's some more Ace doubles. A lot of science fiction here. And then you've got some Ace singles. Andre Norton. Got some of the Witch World titles. Just below there, you'll see some Moorcocks, which I'm going to show you in another frame. Just tons and tons of bagged paperbacks here. And there you can see some more. On the left, that's a stuffed dog nose that you're seeing. It's not a blemish in the photo. It's just a stuffed dog's black nose. But you can see a bunch of Andre Norton bagged paperbacks there. And then you see the Moorcock vintage paperbacks, along with Robert E. Howard right below that. They look great. And of course, you've got some Alistair MacLean paperbacks. They had a lot of those. I'm not going to spoil anything here, but we might be talking about Alistair MacLean in the next podcast episode. Hint, hint. There's some Nick Carters. Got 4 Nick Carter books there. Man, look at this stuff. I mean, just look at this. All bagged up. I mean, just on the left here, I'm trying to just go down the list here. You can see Popular Library, Ace, maybe Adele in there. It's just so many. You can see Edgar Rice Burroughs down at the bottom. I think there's some westerns in there, science fiction, some spy and mystery. On the left side, you can see Brack the Barbarian. I think that's number 2 in that series. You see a Robert Turner Western, Man from U.N.C.L.E. by Michael Avallone. Island of Dr. Moreau, H.G. Wells, David Dodge. Gee whiz. It just keeps going. A lot of westerns there at the bottom. I see Border Fever, Massacre Trail, Saddle Rock, Tenderfoot Kid. And at the very bottom there, on the left, Alex Raymond's series. I'm not familiar with that. Looks like War of the Cybernauts, Plague of Sound, Space Circus. I'm not sure if that's a series or not. Certainly looks uniform enough to be a series. Here you go, some Spider books. 6 Spider paperbacks. V. Man, I remember that TV show when it came out on, I think, NBC. I remember the days leading up to that miniseries broadcasting on television, and everyone was jacked up thinking this was going to be like the new War of the Worlds for the ages. V was a really scary show. Remember those big UFOs landing and everybody freaking out, and then when the people came out, they just looked like you and I. Then you saw the secret behind their flesh. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but they eat rats. I never read any of the V paperbacks. I liked the V show. It lasted for, what, maybe a season or so. I really liked it. But anyway, I've never read any of the paperbacks. Maybe I should. There's another corner of this bookstore. You can see some board games and stuff up at the top. Then you've got tons and tons of books. You got to move books around to get to more books. It's just nuts. I've seen this book in paperback. This is the only hardcover edition I've ever seen out in the wild. Edited by Lynn Carter. Man, this one just blew my mind. All these Robert E. Howard paperbacks. It's just really cool. And I shouldn't say they're all Howard. I mean, there's some stuff in here that's by L. Sprague de Camp or Lynn Carter or a ghostwriter writing under Howard's name or just putting Howard's name on it to sell books. But on the one on the right side, it's probably a little bit of a better box than the one on the left, but I mean, it's just crazy. But these paperbacks, I wasn't sure what printing they were, and some of them were fairly expensive. I mean, we're talking like $10, $15. Some were $3, $4, $5, but a lot of them were really high price, so I kind of stayed away. I would like to have a lot of these, but I'm not going to pay those prices. Got some more here on the left. More Conan spray by Lynn Carter, L. Sprague de Camp. Then as it goes down, you get into some other stuff. I see Monster from Out of Time by Frank Beltnick Long. I reviewed that on the blog. But on the right-hand side, obviously Edgar Rice Burroughs paperbacks, vintage paperbacks. Look great. There's a couple of hardback books. That Cull is pretty expensive, $75, first edition, 1985. And then you've got Rogues in the House. I think that was $60. In good condition. Some more hardbacks. Robert E. Howard, small press. You got the Dennis Dorgan series from 1974 for $25. The Vultures, $20. Some random books I saw. Survivalist, which is a cover that I don't normally see. I normally see another version of it, but that's kind of interesting. And you got Halo and Blood and Ed McBain. I have all these books. Some more random paperbacks. The one in the middle was a vintage horror paperback. I really like the cover. Everybody should have a Matt Helm book. And here you've got on the left, Roy Rogers comic. In the middle, you've got the big book of pulps by Black Lizard. And then on the far right, you'll see some Star Trek paperbacks in there. And here's your Fu Manchus. So there you got some of those. I also see the Jaws 2 paperback. Superboy paperback. Yeah, cool stuff. You see Green Hornet up at the top. There's another little cross section of books. You see some Dick Tracy paperbacks. There's a Swamp Thing paperback. Looks like a vintage horror novel called The Curse on Major Books. Back to BC. Not sure who wrote that. Really awesome. Some more bagged up paperbacks here. Micro Adventure. There's 2 installments, number 3 and number 8. You got an R.L. Stine. You've got the Tron novelization. That Avengers, I'm thinking, is probably from the TV show, the British TV show. There's a Star Trek novelization. Then you get into the Gores. Really awesome. This was a section of hardbacks by Edgar Rice Burroughs, vintage hardbacks. The owner of the store was particularly proud of this collection. He had mentioned it to me when I bought my dad's Tarzan book. He pointed out that he had these vintage hardbacks. And on the far left, you'll see more Edgar Rice Burroughs, as well as some anthologies of science fiction. You've got the Death World trilogy, which I almost bought, but I just don't have room for hardbacks. But I've been wanting to read that trilogy. I like the From the Stars trilogy, or To the Stars trilogy by him. And I just recently read Stainless Steel Rat, so I really like Harry Harrison. I haven't read the Death World trilogy yet. On the right, you'll see some Wizard of Oz books. Some pretty cool. John le Carre, some espionage and spy fiction for you in hardback. And some more espionage spy fiction. James Bond paperbacks by Ian Fleming. I see there in the back that there's a Man with a Golden Gun paperback on Signet. All these look like they're on Signet. Man, if you need some John D. MacDonald, this is the place to go, right? Got plenty of those. You also see a bunch of Rex Stout paperbacks in there as well. I couldn't really make out what this is. I didn't really pull any of them out to look at them, but I guess they're just digest-sized paperbacks, science fiction paperbacks. Some of you may know more about it than I do. There's some hardbacks I thought was interesting. John D. MacDonald hardbacks for Barrier Island, One More Sunday, Free Fall and Crimson. You've also got Cinnamon Skin, and then you see some other things in here at the bottom. I see Bear Island by Alistair MacLean in hardback, San Andreas in hardback, and then also Ross MacDonald's The Blue Hammer. And these are, I guess, Dover digest size paperbacks or children's paperbacks of classics, abridged. As I mentioned, or maybe I mentioned on the podcast, but they have long boxes filled with Savage Sword of Conan. All these boxes are just Savage Sword of Conan. And he's got one, two, three, I think he's got 5 boxes. And they're in order from issue. Sorry, I was trying to hold my camera while I was trying to flip through these. There's another guy standing beside me that was kind of shopping as well, so I was trying to be discreet about this, but I probably look like a complete weirdo with my video running trying to look at all these. You see there's a lot. There's another box right beside of it. As you can see, they're just packed in here so tight. But it's probably the biggest collection I've seen of Savage Sword of Conan magazines outside of just going to a convention. I mean, there's just so many. But you can see price-wise, they're kind of all over the place. Some of them are 20, 15, 10, 6. Just goes on and on and on. You know, and really outside of a convention, it's really hard to find any place quite like Cliff's. I mean, these books and magazines and stuff are things that you normally would have to find at a convention, especially bagged. And here's a particularly really interesting section. At the very top of the one room, there's a collection of these hardback books that are, I guess, library copies or children's copies. And you can see so many classic titles in here. I mean, it's just amazing, and they're all in really good shape. I mean, I see I Spy, Combat, Lassie. There was one called Shutters, which is probably like some Shutters stories. Rat Patrol, Land of Giants. And here's, once again, I'm just trying to videotape everything in here, but it's so much stuff. I mean, look at this wall. And it goes all the way to the floor, and it's even behind another whole stack of paperbacks that are sitting in front of it. I mean, you have to move things out of the way just to get to these paperbacks. And again, like outside of a convention, I'm just not going to see anything like this, especially with this kind of meticulous care where things are bagged, labeled with years and series orders and author names and real author names, I should say. But look, you can see it. It goes all the way to the floor. I mean, I can't even get it with my video how far these things go down. It's just a thing of beauty. Here you've got some comics. There's a Boris Karloff. Ripley's Believe It or Not. There's a couple of those from Gold Key. If you love these little books, these are big little books, and they are gorgeous. I hate to go so fast with a video, but I really didn't have a choice. I just had some people around me just trying to videotape all this. Look at all those Lone Rangers. Alright, so that is my video and photos of my trip to Cliff's. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, this is called Cliff's Bookstore in Deland, Florida. I'm sure if you call them, I'm sure they can ship you any of these things. This guy seems like he's a wheeler and dealer all the time and willing to make trades and sell and things like that. So make sure you call him if you see anything in this video you want to buy. I'm sure he can hook you up and mail it to you. But again, this is a Paperback Warrior blog and podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to visit our blog at paperbackwarrior.com where you'll find hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of book reviews and also access over 100 episodes of our podcast. Thank you so much for watching this video and have fun with whatever you're doing.